Hey, this is Spartan 300 Therm, and I like StarCraft 2 no matter how bad I am at it. So, this match is me as Protoss versus my opponent who's Terran, and I believe that I did a previous video of this. Actually, it was a while ago. I think the last time I did a video of I like StarCraft 2, you know the title, was like a month ago. I'm not even sure. But I have been making other videos in between, you know. So now, I was showing off my build a little bit, like talking about like how I use Dark Templars and Tempests. I'm not even sure I was using Tempest at the time. But this match is sort of showing off some things I've actually realized on my list does. Actually, one thing in particular, which you will see later. So what happens is that I've sort of ended up using my build, instead of using constant raiding and using this as my only defense force, as forward defenses, I'll build the forge, and then I'll get some turrets up to defend, and then use that as my only defense as I constantly raid my opponent over here. Sorry if the speed is too high, but I don't want to bore you guys. So as you can see, we can kind of simultaneously scout each other. What's the second probe for? Oh, it was building stuff. He finds me. I believe I found him at some point. Did I? Yeah, I did find him. The ramp was blocked. So now, continuing. So instead of raiding, I sort of ended up just turning into a very greedy build where I have the second base, first base, I fully saturated, I go to my natural, fully saturate, and then once I end up building a moderate defense force, I might end up adding another 2 turrets. Oh, another cool thing I've recently started doing is I'll use some gateways and sometimes the, cybernetics core to end up blocking off here, so that way if they want to take out my turrets, they need to go around, or they can fight head on. Either way, my turrets get some shots. Excuse me? So now, why do I keep on saying so now? As a result, due to this greedy build, I end up getting a very big bank. And what happens is that my bank, even though I'm constantly building military forces, because there's only so much I can spend with 2 fully saturated bases. Unless I'm a pro where like your micromanagement is just like, I'm not sure if you can hear this, but I'm going to try. Like, you know, just like pounding on the keyboard. So I pause it? I don't know what I did. Okay, so, and I don't know if you can hear me pounding on the keyboard ridiculously. Why isn't production up? There we are. So, we're building our armies up. So if you look at his force, he's getting up relatively fast. I mean, actually, the entire game he uses Marines and Medevacs, and at some point he brings up like 2 Marauders. I'm not even sure. So he scans and sort of sees his defense force. Actually, I don't know if you guys want to see the health bars above the units. Please do say so in the comments, whether or not you want to see it. So anyway, with this massive bank, I'll build 2 more bases, usually here and here. I'll put a gas on each of the Vespine geysers, and I will put 2 pylons up. What this ends up doing is after the base get attacked, I can use the power from the pylons and my gateways to warp in some DTs or some zealots or whatever needs to respond to it. So that way I have a stalling force while the rest of my army arrives to prevent the raid, or if it's the entire enemy army, fight the enemy army. Very nice thing is that like half of the force will divert to engage me, the other half will continue to attack the base, so I'm only need to fight half the enemy force. But anyway, this ends up putting me in a sudden boom of economic gain. And what I'll do the second base for is that by that time, this base will be almost out of minerals. And it almost always is. I have not encountered a situation where it wasn't almost entirely out of minerals. So this base I'll fully saturate from these 2 bases, and this one will stay entirely still. I might put a couple guys on the geysers. And then when this is out, every single guy here will go to here and start mining. Thus giving me 3 fully saturated bases, giving me a very, very strong income. And I sort of try to attack / raid, see what's going on. And I see a large force of Marines. So in my build, I'll use DTs and Tempests. I come to call my build DTT. But what happens is that the Dark Templars, something that I've recently realized, is that as they move forward, it gives my Tempests extra line of sight, and since they're such long range, they can really take advantage of that. From what I've noticed, the Tempests can see like 3/4 of their range, maybe 2/3. So with the Dark Templars moving up, and due to their invisibility, they're invincible. And what this ends up doing is that my Tempests can shoot really far, and I can end up screwing over like enemy Thors if they have any. I can end up... Would screwing over be the term? My slang is terrible. But anyway. So I end up screwing up some Thors. I can destroy siege tanks. I usually prefer to go for siege tanks over Thors, because what happens is that, like, say if I have 4 Tempests, I assume that's like 12 shots to take out a Thor. That's 3 volleys. Meanwhile, so I can probably like divide the 2 Tempests on 2 enemy siege tanks. That should be like 2 volleys from each group, in order to fully take out the enemy siege tank. So the enemy siege tank, so I mean, if I were to go for the Thor, those Tempests will go to waste, because either my battle line will fall or mine will push forward. So now, as you can see here, he's raiding my mineral line and does so very successfully. I am forced to withdraw, interfering with my mining time. To tell you the truth, over the course of this match, my opponent is absolutely horrendous with his mining. So I put up a small force field to prevent that guy from getting into the fight, and I kill him off. Very much unsuccessful raid. Let's see how many guys I had there and how many he killed. So, units. So, speed up. And so he has killed 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, he killed 4 guys in that entire attack. I mean, pretty terrible considering the fact that like each marine is what, 50. I think it's 50. There was probably like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So yeah, 8 times 50 is 40. So that's 400 minerals. In addition to the medevac, which costs how much? 100 minerals and 100 gas. That was definitely not worth it. Technically speaking, I profited from that. So seeing as to the fact that I would encounter further raids, I put some pylons behind my base so I can power some photon cannons, thus making raids almost useless. He does attempt one more raid, which goes, I wouldn't say successfully. It's actually an entirely Pyrrhic. It wasn't even a Pyrrhic victory, it was like an all-out defeat. So now, one really strange thing that I've noticed going on here is that I send my, observer? Yeah, observer to go in, and for some reason, he lets down a scan. I don't know how he knew to let down a scan so his guys can see it. I don't know what suggested to him that there was an invisible unit, so he should let down a scan. In the sheer odds of him spontaneously putting down a scan around his base. And first off, why would you do it to begin with? Second, why did he see it? I mean, I just said this earlier. Why did he see it? What encouraged him to let down the scan? But even still, it's fine. It's just a small thing, and I got all the information I wanted. So I was going very infantry heavy, and as a result, I decided not to go as air heavy as I standardly would. I bring out some immortals. My force isn't probably as strong as it should be, so what have I got? A zealot, an immortal, 4 stalkers, 2 void rays, 7 sentries, and a mothership core. Against 34 marines, 2 marauders, and 7 medevacs. Yeah, that's a pretty uphill fight for me. Especially with those medevacs. Those could really screw me over. I do, however, just spam these gateways. Because if you look at my bank before I spam these gateways, look at how much money I have. So as you can see, I have a massive money build-up. And my theory is, if you have too much money and are unable to spend it on units, spam your basic building thing. Unless you're Zerg, in which case, at the stage where you're building up massive amounts of money and you can't spend it, you're probably, in a situation where you have, 4, I believe they're called hatcheries. That's the main building. I don't know, but, you probably have 4 hatcheries, just, spam Zerglings or something. But anyway, so I decided to spam my main infantry building. There we go. So I'm getting these massive money build-ups and, hell, gateways, why not? So let's continue to the big part that I really want to talk about. First off, here comes a raid. So he has 5 medevacs, 2 marauders, and I'd assume every marine he has, minus 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 marines. So that is 39 marines, I believe. So he has enough medevacs to get past my photon cannons, and he boosts. I take down 1 medevac with the Tempest. As you can see, look at their range. That is ridiculous. Look at this. So, they can just slaughter stuff. And look at how many workers he kills. First off, the 23 wasn't that he killed a worker, it's just that there was a guy over here. Killed 4 guys. That's 3 guys so far. So he has killed 3 guys. 4 guys, okay. 4 guys. 5 guys. 6 guys. So yeah, he killed 7 workers for his entire army. That army probably cost him 2,000 minerals, and with the medevacs, that was 5 medevacs, 500 Vespine. Yeah, was that remotely worth it? I think not, especially considering the fact that I have 1 mineral field left. So these guys are all about to go to this base over here. That wasn't remotely worth it. This player, he is level 4, I think, so I can't blame him too much. So I say you only killed 7 workers, just to let it out. And he starts to bring out more Marines. I mean, if you look at his income, what does he have? Let's pause this for a second. So now, one saturated CC, another half saturated CC, 3 half saturated CCs, and what do I have? 1 fully saturated base, 2 fully saturated base, 3 fully saturated bases. Well, fully saturated if you don't count assimilators, but even still, that means I'm mining from 4 assimilators. 6 assimilators, never mind. So yeah, I mean, my economy is simply better than his. And look at my income. It is coming in so fast. So now he's laying down a scan to see my army. I put down like 100 pylons so I can get to the maximum of 200 supply. Also to act as sort of a scouting mechanism, so that way should he attack me, I'll have the early warning of the pylons. So now it's speed up for his attack, because nothing very interesting happens until then. Actually, one quick thing. So if you notice he's scanning. So now look. Here's my army. I have, how many? 4 DTs. So now, how many people look for DTs in an army like this, where you have all the Tempests blocking, you have all the Void Rays, and first off, how many people would look for DTs specifically? Unless you're really high and you know what units to watch out for, you're probably not looking for DTs. And these DTs save me. The Dark Templars and the Tempests. I mean, this is probably the main reason my build is so effective. I just have these Tempests and DTs that just kill stuff. Generally in my build I'd have some Colossi too, but for some reason I don't end up getting them. I think I'm waiting for the robotic bay. Okay, no, maybe I am building them? I don't know. Yeah, I'm probably getting some robotics facilities up. So now, dang, you missed that. So, this kind of ends up screwing me over to an extent. Once again, my slang isn't too good. My anything isn't too good, other than my gameplay ability. But anyway, so here's what ends up pretty much killing him. So here comes his scans. And here comes the last scan that he used to check what my army is. So here he comes. So, these guys are moving hilariously fast. Starts killing some pylons. I decide to move my force back because I clearly am much smaller than his. The only way that I could possibly win is through incredible micro. I send the mothership core back to put this little time warp thing here, so that way his guys can't move as fast. And then I decided, wait, I have a funnel here. I can use force fields to get half of his army away. And that's what's about to happen. See? There's force fields. How much of his army is engaging me? A fifth? You know, I mean, he still beats me in this first engagement. No, this isn't GG just yet. I mean, the force fields were probably a little bit too clumped up. You know, if I went for a full crescent, that probably would be much more effective. But anyway, look. My Dark Templars are never being detected once. He has no detection with his army, nor does he ever scan. So my Dark Templars are just standing around, stabbing every Marine they see. Now, my Tempests, I was watching this video earlier, they killed 18 guys. That's a lot. I mean, it's pretty terrible. So now my photon cannons start firing. I have the DTs, I have stalkers. He sends in more men into like this absolute meat grinder that I've created. He probably doesn't think it is bad. It is as let me try that again. He probably doesn't think it is as bad as it actually is because he doesn't see my Dark Templars. His Dark Templar damage, from what I can tell, I mean, I'm just looking at the health bars, is freaking amazing. So now his force runs away. I saw the guys come from the north, and I didn't realize that it's quicker to go around than directly here, because I saw this path over here, so I assumed like that pretty much like goes like this, which it kind of did. So I assumed that he had a barracks up here, so I sent my entire army up, because, I mean, what are the odds of getting a counterattack up that fast? In which case the photon cannons will kill them from the front, my guys from behind. That'd be a slaughter. So then I decided to consolidate on my victory. It probably wasn't the most intelligent possible move, but compare our economies. I have so many resources. I can just spend this in a blink of an eye. In his income, what is it? It's nothing. So I sent in some phoenixes, hoping that I might be able to kill one of these, what are they called, medevacs before they can do anything. So I mean, look. These Dark Templars allow my guys to, my Tempest, to utilize their full range. The carriers are launching in their little interceptors. And, like, you know, it just isn't looking good. I mean, just look at this. And as you can see by the timer, the game is almost done. So I got more guys coming in. I finally got my Colossi out. Right here. Big walkies, very shooty. So, I mean, like, this is it. Just GG. And I think that the only reason I won was due to superior macro. However, right before he goes, I just want to show this off because it's kind of funny. Slaughter, 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 slaughter. Anyway, So right before he goes, this is what he does. Wait. He scans. What an epic troll face moment. He probably found out at that moment that it was those 4 Dark Templars that won me the entire game. So, well, GG. So thank you for watching. My name is Spartan300 Therm. A like and subscription are appreciated, and I will see you next time.